So in this video, I'm going to run you through an in-season strength and conditioning session with one of my footballers. So with most sessions that I'm operating, I like to start off with some sort of plyometrics. So here you see me doing some split stance vertical jumps, alternating between lead leg of the left and lead leg of the right, focusing really only on absorbing the force, not repetitively making the jumps. And as you can see here, I do have the athlete barefooted, making sure that we're really being able to build a good base of support from the feet, as that is always our first point of contact on the field of sport or even in the weights room.
Heel always off. That's it. Give me 10 of them.
So after a couple of sets of that, we move into some little bit more intensive plyometrics.
So now we're just going to do repetitive. So split stance and just popping up with height.
Again, the theme here is shoes off,
10 of them.
grounding yourself and keeping the heel elevated so that we've constantly got tension on those calves, on the medialis arch, on the ankle, strengthening that entire area. So when we're producing force, we can do it with maximal output. Moving on from there, we go into some lateral jumps. We've got a hurdle here, which is relatively high, focusing on jumping, absorbing, and creating good stability on every single jump. Balance and coordination as a footballer is absolutely key, and without that as a bare minimum, it's very hard to be playing at the elite level. So every time we jump, I'm looking for the athlete to come to a complete stop, keeping a constant angle in the knee from where they jump and from where they land with. And as you can see here, we're keeping the heel elevated at all times. All force production and absorption is coming off the forefoot. And then once we've adjusted from the basic jumps, we do it with a little bit more intensity here.
Next one, we're going to go over. So I'm going to jump over and then immediately come back and then catch that land. I just want 3 each side.
So as you can see, he's jumping over, cutting immediately and coming back from where he came from, trying to minimize that ground contact time so we can apply that type of change of direction behavior onto the field itself. Now, because we are in season, I like to keep the volume relatively low. The whole point of in-season strength and conditioning is to ensure that we are meeting the strength targets of what we built up in the off-season, but we're not trying to chase big numbers in the weights room. We're trying to really maintain. And in order for us to maintain it, this strength protocol that I've got him on the trap bar deadlift is we're going to work through 6 sets, however 2 reps per set. So dropping the volume right down, but making sure we're still pulling a relatively heavy weight. So as you can see here, he's funneling through the trap bar deadlifts, 2 reps, and then from there we're going into a split stance vertical jump onto a single-legged land on the box. Now remember guys, when it comes to in-season strength and conditioning, you want to be keeping the volume real low, keeping the weight real heavy, and at the same time keeping the rest periods for as long as possible. Fatigue is something that we don't want to set on with the athlete. If this guy comes to me, we do strength and conditioning, and then tomorrow night he's back at his team at training and he's got a lot of DOMs, then he's not going to be able to apply himself at the highest possible level. The weights room acts like a supplement to assist whatever his demands are on the field. In the off season is when we have a lot more time where we can really break down the muscle, we can go a little bit more intensely, but once the ball's at our feet, the priority becomes the game itself. So how do we maximize our ability in playing the game? It's using the weights room correctly. As a footballer, the posterior chain is absolutely crucial. So as you can see here, we're working into a unilateral type movement here, which is like a single-legged RDL, hinging at the hip, rotating towards the lead leg, coming up with hip extension, throwing the med ball against the wall to create some instability before repeating multiple times. From there, we superset that into a single-legged, somewhat of like an RDL, but in this situation here, we're really loading up the obliques, the glutes, the hips, almost like creating a spring load action releasing that tension, and the release of that tension allows us to spring up onto the box, landing with the opposing leg and keeping ourselves stable up there, ensuring good balance, coordination, and explosive power, which is going to translate, especially when it comes to first step power production on the field of sport. Now, a complete athlete means that they need to have a complete body armor, and a complete body armor requires the upper body to be tampered with as well. So we've got him on the landmine here, right arm, right leg, we're loading it in a split stance position, moving explosively. Now, you're probably thinking here, we're just pressing out from the arm. But if you really look at the way the athlete's engaging in the movement, he's pushing off the legs, it's a ground up movement, generating the power out of the legs, creating an alteration between his split stance position and his arms, while also rotating his torsos, distributing the energy from one side to another back to where to start. Now, this movement needs to be done explosively, otherwise it defeats all purposes. And then from there, we move into a series of pull-ups where I'm working the athlete at an RPE of 8, which is leaving at least 2 reps in the tank for his max effort reps. And to cap off the session, I run through another superset series here. Now, all these movements here are designed to assist in that first step power. And when it comes to football, guys, the ball typically is won over a 10 to 15 meter distance. So your first step and your ability to reach top speed through the acceleration phase is the most crucial. And there you have it, guys, some insight in an S&C session that I run one of my footballers with who's currently in season. Now, if you want to see more content like this, be sure to check out my Instagram. I post daily tips, tricks, everything related to football, strength and conditioning, and fitness. For one-to-one coaching, check out my application and description. I'll see you on the next one.